Welcome to WACSUN Weekly. WACSUN Weekly is the official Western Athletic and ASUN Conference podcast of FCS Fans Nation. WACSUN Weekly is hosted by Dustin Helton, Brandon Owens, and Will Seiler. Welcome back, FCS Fans Nation, to the Week 4 installment of WACSUN Weekly. We've got lots of good results. I feel like this was a good week of football to talk about. Some good results, and we'll get to them here in just a minute. And we'll play a new game that maybe me and Brandon will be better at later. But first, guys, how was your Week 3? And we'll start with you, Rev, because I know you had the week off. So how'd you do?
It was relaxing. I sat back and watched different games and didn't have to worry about, teams running up rushing yards against mine this week. So it was a nice way to kind of relax. Some great football. I think I watched football legit from 11 a.m. Saturday until 1 a.m. Sunday morning when the Arizona-North Dakota State game ended. So yeah, it was a good day.
That's awesome. Brandon, how'd you spend your weekend?
Other than work all weekend, it was relaxing. I did the same as Rev. I got to watch some football. It was a boring weekend of football, in my opinion. Very boring. There wasn't enough chaos.
No, there wasn't. The results were pretty chalk, but it was still fun. I felt like we had games that were more entertaining, maybe to watch. We didn't have a bunch of blowouts like we did last week, so I enjoyed it. I went home to my parents' house, watched the UCA Idaho State game, and then came back and, man, Bobby P almost got it done in Fayetteville.
Almost.
That was wild.
Woo,
I was hoping Missouri State was going to pull it out.
Me too. But no, that was crazy. That was one of the craziest games I think I've ever seen, just because it was like, top 10 team.
Did you not watch the App State game?
Okay, that one was nuts, but that would have been like one of the biggest upsets since the 2007 App State.
Oh
over
yeah,
Michigan.
for sure.
Top 10. So that was fun to watch. But it was a great weekend.
I almost put Missouri State at number 2 in my top 25. Almost.
I don't think if it had been anybody else, they would have been able to hang. I think they were playing pretty spirited for Bobby P. Like, I think that in a vacuum, that game against anybody else is probably like a 30-point game.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But we'll get to it. We'll talk about it. But just to gloss over some results here, UCA took care of Idaho State in Pocatello, 31-16. Austin Peay beat Alabama A&M 28-3. Eastern Kentucky got it done over Charleston Southern 40-17. Chattanooga over North Alabama 41-14. Tulsa took Jacksonville State to the woodshed 54-17.
We had a game. We had a game?
Yeah, apparently. ACU kept it close, honestly, against Missouri. That was maybe not as close as the score shows, but
closer than we thought.
Yeah, no, for sure. Southern Utah over Western Illinois 17-10. Tarleton over Eastern New Mexico 41-6. Sam, honestly, I think squeaked it out over A&M Commerce 27-17. And then Weber over Utah Tech 44-14. So before we talk about individual games, which results stand out to you the most? Brandon, you can go first.
Yeah, Brandon.
I might be stealing one from Rev, but I think it's the Sam Houston game. That is a transitional team that you should have no issue beating, and you only beat them by 10. What the heck, Sam Houston? You're making the future CUSA look very bad right now.
It didn't take them doing that to make them look bad.
Yeah, you guys are having UMass in football. It didn't make this future CUSA look bad. No, the thing about Sam that surprised me about that game is that they finally maybe figured out their quarterback situation, because they weren't using Keegan Shoemaker, who had playing time last year and who was a quarterback that led Sam to a come from behind victory against SFA at Valley Woods. they were using Jordan Yates instead, and Yates just did not look good. They finally used Shoemaker, and he looked better. But I mean, that team is just playing very uninspired football. There's no other way to describe it. It's just absolutely uninspired. They have a bye this week, which means they're going to be focused on Ballapine Woods. I think that will be an interesting game. I'll be interested to see what sort of team comes out. Maybe they'll play inspired against SFA because it is the last dance. We can talk more about that next week. But yeah, what a disappointing just performance by them. And another score that I wouldn't say surprised me because I thought it would happen, but UCA, I've slammed Will McElvain on here before, but he looked really good against Idaho State. He looked like the quarterback that I think, that could have started for UNI and had UNI, thriving in the Missouri Valley instead of Theo Day, who they're using now. Like, he looked composed. He made great decisions throwing. He had just a couple of mistakes that weren't really impactful. Like, he looked really good. And the whole team looked good. Now, granted, Idaho State isn't exactly the top of the big sky, but that's a good win on the road. And it puts that team sort of on the right footing, right direction for the games that they have upcoming over the next few weeks.
Yeah. Just to start with the Sam Houston game, go back to that. Did you see Jordan Yates? Jordan's his first name, right? Yates. Did you see him flip into the end zone? Did you see it, Brandon? That was crazy.
Yeah.
He scrambled for a touchdown, and it looked just like the Tim Flanders flip from several years back. But he's going in the end zone, and they dove at his legs, and he kind of jumped, and so his momentum was already carrying him that way, and it flipped him over. He lands on his feet and almost sticks the landing, but then flipped over again, and so it did a double flip, and then just rolled up into the end zone for a touchdown. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah, what a way to get your first touchdown. Yeah, what a way to get your first touchdown. I actually put on Twitter, I was like, does this replace the Flanders flip that we hear about every damn year? Like, I get it. It's not enough that Sam has beat SFA the past 11 or 12 years. The fact that I have to see that flip every freaking year. But, what a way to finally, after 9 quarters of futility, score a touchdown. So, I mean, if you're going to do something, might as well do it on a grand scale. And I think he did that with that touchdown.
Yeah, I really thought they would score in the first quarter. They had opportunities. They kind of fizzled out and had to kick a field goal. But we watched a little bit of that game, and I don't know if Commerce is that good as much as, like you said, Sam Houston is just playing uninspired. Like, they only have 9 games on the schedule. I think they've kind of checked out. Like, hey, we're moving up. This is kind of, I don't know. You can't do that though, or you're gonna have you're going to go out 500 in your last year at FCS, and then that's not a good way to launch into the FBS. So kind of interesting. But to touch on what you said about UCA, Will McElvain looked very good. He went 24 for 29, like 260. Should have been 27 for 29. There were 3 just like blatant drops where it hit the receiver in the hands and they dropped it. He did have one play where he probably should have thrown it away or just taken the sack, and he ended up fumbling. But that was really the only time he tried maybe to do a little bit too much. Idaho State looked really big, which I don't know if you've watched the preview that North did with Chris and Kyler about them, but their O-line averaged like 6'6", 6'7", 315 across the front. They were huge, and they had some athletes. Their quarterback was pretty good, but thought it was a good win. Like you said, it launches us kind of into the winnable part of the schedule on the right foot. So what do you guys think about UNA kind of getting drubbed? I mean, they got beat pretty good.
I honestly, we made that our game of the week last week. I didn't think it should have been the game of the week. It's what it is. Chattanooga, they're a great team. I think it was their homecoming game too. So they were feeling already, pretty fired up to have the game that week. So, I don't think UNA is a bad team. I just think Chattanooga is probably the team that'll win the SoCon.
Yeah, they. I just thought it would be a little bit closer.
Yeah, I
didn't think it would be 41-14. I didn't think they would win. I didn't necessarily think it'd be come down to a fourth quarter game, but I didn't think they would lose 41-14. So I was a little disappointed. Brandon, if you're listening to this, not you, Brandon Haddock.
Oh,
Talk up your Lions, man. They don't need to get into a hole to start the year and end up, this season ending a. Dude, tell him to come on. You can just say it. Tell him to come on.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt your rant. I'll tell him. I'll text
I'm
him.
not
Tell him,
ranting. I'm just filling some space here. But I really hope North Alabama gets it together. I don't want them to, because I think they've got all the potential in the world.
mhm.
Florence loves football. Their school really loves football. So I hope
There's nothing else to do in Florence, to be honest. But so I
that
mean,
is accurate.
Sure. Let's see. Moving on. Were there any other games that I wanted to touch on? Southern Utah. I mean, good for them. That's
battle for the not worst team in the WACSUN
Yes.
or in the FCS, really.
I don't think they. I think they are safely not the worst team in the FCS. I think they're safe.
I was talking about between the two teams.
Oh, I don't know. I think Western. Who knows? I think Southern Utah is getting it together. Maybe.
I think so too. I mean, granted, Western Illinois is not that great of a team, but Coach Fitzgerald, man, he had some good success at the D2 level. And so I think you just give him a couple years, and they're going to be competitive. But I actually, as bad as that stream was from WIU, like it was a terrible stream. The SUU looked pretty good. I see we got a special guest in the wings. Will, do you want to
bring him in? The man,
Hey,
the legend, Jamie Williams. Jamie, how are you, my man?
I'm all right. I even have some WACSUN gear on tonight.
Oh, nice hat.
Yeah, I had to figure I had to wear it on a weekend where SFA didn't lose. So
thanks for that.
Is that a SIU shirt you got on?
Yeah, it is.
Is that the Big Boy Pod game of the week or team of the week?
No, it's just what I had on, and I thought we were gonna potentially have the hacks on, so threw this on to piss off Joe.
Very
the
cool.
sock Lukis.
That's right, the sock Lukis.
Well, my man, we're just discussing results right now from this previous week. I don't know if you have them in front of you. I can give them to you if you want me to. We're just kind of talking about ones that stood out, maybe surprised us a little bit. We talked about Sam Houston only beating Commerce by 10. Still took them an extra quarter to score again. And then talked about UCA over Idaho State. They looked pretty good going up to Pocatello. Jacksonville State did not look good. I do want to talk about that one. Brandon, what was your assessment of that situation?
We looked like the old Jacksonville State of the Gross era. We were making stupid mistakes. We were playing undisciplined football. I turned it off for like half the game.
Oh, God. They
don't be too discouraged, though, because, you are transitioning. You still have fewer scholarships. It doesn't matter that Tulsa sucked. I mean, y'all look like crap. Don't get me wrong, and it was kind of funny. But
okay, so here's the thing. And I told my mom my mom and I were talking about this, and she said it seems like every game JSU has played worse. Like they were all fired up for the Stephen F. Austin game, and then Davidson wasn't exactly the best game. Murray State wasn't necessarily the best game, and now we get blown out by Tulsa by a team that most of us feel like we should have beaten. So, I mean, I don't know what to think now. I'll have to wait to see what happens next week.
I think it's all relative, too.
Yeah.
SFA preseason was pretty hyped. So I think maybe an average performance. I'm not saying that you played average against SFA, but you probably felt like you played better because you thought you were playing a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I feel like that's it too. I feel like you played up to SFA because you thought SFA was a top 10 team. I guess they were ranked as a top 10 team, but they were ranked based upon, I said this on a different podcast, based on the losses they had last year versus the one win against Eastern Kentucky. That was a top 25 win. I think playing against Davidson, you kind of just like, and I think even maybe going to Tulsa, you guys might have felt a little cocky, no pun intended, because Tulsa's not, world beaters there. I'll be interested.
Right.
Nichols State, I think, will be a night. We can talk about this more later, but you are having to go into the swamp and play them, but I think that'll be a nice rebound game after this one. I mean, I didn't think you would go undefeated. Honestly, I thought if you slipped up, it would be against Tulsa, but I don't know the way you had performed the past 3 weeks. I just expected more out of you. So you might get, if we were doing the Bishop Sycamore fraud of the week, it might be y'all, but you know, I wouldn't dwell on it too much.
I think the biggest mistake was Rich Rod gave our backup he started for this game. Aaron McLaughlin started, and Aaron looked awful. He could not complete passes. He was running decent. He's still young. He's a redshirt freshman. He needs some development. This game would have been a lot closer if Zion was playing the entire game, because once Zion got into the game towards the end, we started picking up the pace. And I will say, even though he played one drive, Tayshawn Smoot, our freshman third string quarterback, is pretty dang good. He had one drive that ended in a 16-yard rushing touchdown. Dude can run.
Yeah, I don't get why Rich Rod would go against what's been working. That's the one thing that kind of threw me off. Like, if you want to give Aaron McLaughlin some playing time, that's fine. Don't do it against Tulsa. Do it against Nichols State. Do it against Nichols State, right? Like, Nichols State's crap this year. Do it there. Like, I don't get that. I don't get the Rich Rod mentality sometimes. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah, the one I like to call out for this week is one that you probably might gloss over, but I'm gonna still tout my JMU former classmate Delane Fitzgerald and Southern Utah getting a win over Missouri Valley team. I don't care that it was Western Illinois. It was still on the road in Macomb, and he's got that team headed in the right direction. So, I was crumbling to crash here just to, see if we were doing geography, but
we're doing mascots. We're doing mascots.
Just wait.
Stick around.
I was gonna say, you stick around. We're doing something else. I probably won't be good at.
You can stick around and take part in this too. This will be.
That's all right, guys. I just wanted to jump in for a few minutes and just crash the party. Thankfully, I think the guys will be much better at mascots than geography. So I am rooting for you, Will. I'm rooting for you, Brandon. That's my pep talk. Redeem yourselves. CW, stick with your boy.
They were afraid. Will, I will say this, Will all week was playing GeoGuessr. He was trying to do it, but he was afraid of the challenge I was going to throw down. So I thought I'd give him them a bye week, a little. Yeah. Maybe this is like the Jacksonville State at Nichols game. This is what brings you back, makes you feel more confident, makes you feel it's SFA versus Warner Brothers Studios or whoever we're playing this week. Like, it's the exact same thing. sort of thing. Just to build your confidence before I break it down again on the next geography game. But before you go, let's definitely give a shout out to the Big Boy Show. Not only the Big Boy Show, but Jamie Williams also does his top 25 ballot. He breaks it down. And you can watch it. You can listen to his reasoning. You can agree or disagree. You can flame at him if you want to. You can do whatever you want. But Jamie, is brave enough to put his poll out for everybody to look at, and absolutely respect him for doing it. He calls me the podcast hooker, but I don't know, man. You're starting to you might be getting there.
I don't know. I'm kind of like Owen Wilson, just crashing the party here. So
Hey, what day are you going to put the breakdown out? Is it Wednesday? Is that when it comes out? I
usually do it Wednesday. I think Wednesday will be this week's. It just depends on when I can get half an hour of my time to just sit there and do it, because it takes me 15 minutes to do it, 15, 20 minutes, and then 15 minutes of organizing it. So look out for that on Wednesday. Just wanted to come in and visit with my WACSUN buddies on the FCS Fans Nation Network on YouTube.
That's right.
That's what we do. We just visit each other, we crash the party, and then we bounce out.
Almost crashed y'all show.
Although, to be fair, I'm too scared to do it. Like, I saw it recording and I was like, almost, should I just pop in the background? And then I don't want Matt Frazee to track me down in his Tesla, so I didn't do it.
Man.
But no, Jamie, anytime you want to come in, you're always more than welcome to come in and talk WACSUN football with us. We love to have you in. So
all right, fellas, y'all have a good rest of your podcast. I'll get you back on rhythm. Good luck in the mascots. Redeem yourself.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, Jamie.
Later, guys.
See ya.
Adios. Well, that was fun. I'm glad he came in.
I know.
He's one of my. You won't find anybody that does more research in their top 25 poll than Jamie.
Seriously.
And I don't mind taking crap from him about geography, because if there's something FCS, whether it be geography, mascots, I mean, he could probably name the stadiums. He could He's good. So
he could probably name the actual field name, like the donor who paid
Yeah.
for the field. Like he probably do that. I'm gonna start a thing on Twitter, a push to. I'm gonna go at Sam Herder and at Craig Haley. We got to get him on FCS All In. He'd be a great ad to have onto that show. I think
Jamie?
Jamie would be incredible on there.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one more result that I want to talk about before we move on. Obviously, Eastern Kentucky blew over Charleston Southern. Don't really care to talk about that one much. But Austin P 28-3 over Alabama A&M. I believe that game was in Huntsville.
It was.
Yeah. Okay.
It was.
So I think I expected them to win a little bit bigger. Now 28-3 is very respectable. They didn't have to throw the ball very much. They ran for like 280 or something. 215. So they did what they wanted on the ground, but they didn't control the time of possession. They still had the ball like 10 less minutes. So I would have expected this to be one of those 40-10 games. But they didn't run away with it like I thought they would. So what did you think?
I was just kind of surprised by it too. I figured that it would be one of those 42-3, 49-3, one of those games because of how Austin P has looked. But if you look at their competition, and I'll touch more on this when we look at the games next week, other than Western Kentucky, they haven't really played anybody. They've done what they've had to do. And I mean, they drubbed Presbyterian and they drubbed Mississippi Valley, who lost to my D2 team, Delta State, this past weekend. So, I just, I just kind of wonder too if there's a lot of fluff there versus what's really there. I
mean, this game was 7-3 at halftime. I mean, it was very much in reach, and it was only 14-3 going into the fourth quarter. So very much in reach for Alabama A&M. It just happened to get away from them there in the fourth quarter. So
I don't know. Got some garage time, as the B team likes to call it, and some garage time scores.
Garage time.
Garage time.
Man, there's a lot that comes from the B team podcast.
I just want to say Alabama A&M is not a bad team by any means. They might be this year, but in the past they usually aren't a bad team.
They're 2 years removed from being in the SWAC championship game against UAPB.
Right.
So.
We're not saying they're a bad team. It's just when people have look at how Austin P played against Western Kentucky, you would expect with a result like that, Western Kentucky is leaps and bounds above Alabama A&M, and that's not an insult to Alabama A&M. It's just the truth.
Well,
you would expect more based off the performances from the previous week. And maybe they overlooked them a little bit too, if you think about it, with the game against Eastern Kentucky coming up. Sorry, to keep you.
Well, that was my whole thing. Maybe with the tougher conference schedule coming up, they probably decided to give their backups and build their depth. Give their backups some playing time and build their depth, because the ASUN is not going to be a cakewalk. Unlike the OVC, it's not going to be a cakewalk. So I'm pretty sure Austin P was thinking, hey, we got a tough conference schedule. Let's take it easy this game, do what we need to do, give our backup some playing time, build our depth, and be able to prepare well for the ASUN conference schedule.
I'll say this too. I don't want to dog them for winning 28-3. They beat them worse than Troy did. But it was 2 fourth quarter touchdowns.
Troy sucks.
That put the separation in it. I mean, it was a lot closer game going into the fourth quarter than it ended. So I guess but I don't want to allude to anything that's coming up this week. So before we get to some Mascot mashup, as the old NCAA games, don't copyright me, NCAA or EA Sports.
Great.
No, Chris Hammond's going to call me. Chris Hammond's going to call me in a minute. I'm going to get a call at 3 a.m. when this video finishes uploading. It's going to be Chris. He's going to be like, dang it, you got a copyright strike. Anyway, before we get to that, though, thoughts on Frisco? Maybe who are your early contenders? Are there any teams other than the 4 preseason contenders that are in the contention range, or any of those 4 that are out of contention, in your opinion? Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Rev, you go ahead. I don't care.
So here's the thing. I don't know. We saw a lot of things that happened this weekend, right? We saw North Dakota State finally stumble in a game. And I don't want to say stumble because that's insulting, because it is an FBS loss.
Right.
But they were also favored by 2 points at the time of kickoff, right? So they technically were the favorites in that game. I don't think that's a mark against NDSU. I mean, to keep going the way they've been going, like at some point you have to stumble. That's just the rule, right? Like that's just what's going to happen. I really think it's going to come down, and it may even be a North Dakota State, South Dakota State game, which would be awesome to have the marker again in Frisco. I think it really just depends on what happens in the marker game, the first round, and where seeding goes. Montana, Montana's looked good. Montana's done what they're supposed to do, but they've also played,
nobody.
They played South Dakota, who was a playoff team, but South Dakota's having their own struggles. Although they did look better against Cal Poly this past week. So, but they played Northwestern State, who, their coach is on the hot seat, and they played
hard to be on the hot seat at Northwestern State too.
Yeah, and they played Butler, or I can't remember the other schools. It was Indiana State. They played Indiana State. Yeah, sorry.
And that game, it took them a minute to get going against Indiana State. Indiana State had their opportunities to tie it up or take the lead early in that game, early in the second quarter, and Montana ran away with it, obviously, but it wasn't from the gates a boat race or anything.
Yeah, and I think too, between Montana and Montana State, it'll be interesting. The Brawl of the Wild will be a really interesting game to watch. Because I think whoever wins that one's going to go deeper into the postseason. But I think they're going to get a match with either North Dakota State or South Dakota State in either Fargo or Brookings, respectively. Because I think by the end of it, you'll see North Dakota State 1 and South Dakota State 2 when it comes to seedings, unless some sort of Hail Mary event happens in South Dakota State again this year. They have a rough schedule. They don't have a bye week until the end of the year.
It's terrible.
That is some of the worst scheduling I've ever seen. Like they got screwed. But one team that I'm really interested to see what happens is the University of the Incarnate Word. The team I love to hate. The team I love to hate with Dr. Lindsey Scott Jr. at quarterback. It's funny. I said that on Twitter. He liked it, so I guess he can also take the joke. It seems like, I know he's been playing 4 years. It seems like he's been playing 6. But man, Incarnate Word, for a team that everybody, including myself, doubted. With the exception of the FCS triumvirate poll, who I think one of their guys actually went to UIW. So he did. But so many folks, doubted them, what they would do after losing Cam Ward and after losing their coach. And wow, you want to talk about a team that is just steamrolling their opponents so far. Honestly, I don't think there's a team in the Southland that can stop them.
No,
there's nobody there. Southeastern Louisiana, don't call them CELA, but Southeastern Louisiana. They, I'm interested to see what they do. They look great against Central Connecticut State, but against Central Connecticut State is so. Yeah. So I don't think there's a team that'll stop them. I'm interested to see what's going to happen whenever they get up against a team like Montana or Montana State or SDSU in the playoffs, a team that's known for pounding the rock, for great defense. But man, how cool would it be to see them go to Frisco? That would be that'd be a fun crowd, with San Antonio.
I would be a big Cardinals fan at that point.
Yeah, I've got there was a GA. I think he was a GA. He might have been just quality control when he was at UCA when I was playing as a sophomore. That he is at UIW now as an assistant coach, and he's awesome. So I'm a big UIW fan since we don't play him, and I was talking to him the other day, so I hope they do well. I just have my doubts when they have to play somebody like North Dakota State or South Dakota State that is pound the rock, shove it down your throat. And I hope they have the size up front, things like that to hang in.
Also, depending on how the seeding works, because if they're going to run the table, they're going to get a seed. Depending on how seeding works, they may not see any of the Montanas or Dakota schools until Frisco.
Well, but here's the deal. If what happened, so take what happened to UCA in 2017. We got the 4 seed, so we would have seen South Dakota State in the quarters in Conway because they were the 5.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is if they take a seed, somebody else loses one. If they're a top 4, somebody else loses one, and they may have to get them, but they'll get them at home. So I don't know. They may not get one of the Dakotas, but if they get one, they're going to get one of the Montanas.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's 4 other schools. At some point, you have to see them.
Yeah.
But we see what happened to a team like this, Sam Houston, in 13, I think was the first year. I don't remember what year it was that they were
11.
Okay. One of the years that they were just super spread them and shred them. And then a lot of speed, a lot of air raid type stuff, and then you run into a buzzsaw somewhere along the way. So
Yeah, that was 11.
Yeah.
if history repeats itself, then
The thing about the Incarnate Word offense, and why, I mean, if you looked at watched the North Dakota State game, granted, I know it was past a lot of people's bedtimes, but if you watch the way the Arizona offense moved with a mobile quarterback, Lindsey Scott has wheels and he can throw the ball. It's the perfect sort of thing that would be able to move on the North Dakota State defense. The thing is, I don't know if Incarnate Word's defense is big enough to match up with like a team like North Dakota State's offense. But you know what? We still got a long way to go with them.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch them. Hopefully they don't slip up because it is fun to see chaos. Sorry about that noise if you heard it. My damn Lorax cat is jumping on off the couch again. But they could easily be a top 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Easily be a top 4 seed.
That's the thing is they'll get a top 4 if they run the table because we've seen that happen before. I'll just allude back to 17. Exactly. And so we rolled in as a 4 seed. We were ranked 3rd in the country at the time and ended up with a 4 seed because I think the committee is maybe a little bit more logical than the ranking committees are. So I think they could easily get a top 4. I just think the way they play may not translate to late December playoff wins.
Right.
I would say one other team to watch is Delaware. Delaware has got Ryan Carty coaching, and Carty knows how to win. He's been behind Sam Houston's offense, Keeler's right-hand man, and Delaware has looked really, really good, not just beating Navy, but they absolutely obliterated Rhode Island. They may replace JMU as the powerhouse of the CAA and go back to their roots, back where they were whenever they had what's his name, Flacco playing there. So, that I would watch them too. I think they have the potential to make a deep run. I don't know if they're Frisco ready, but it's going to be interesting to see what they can do too.
Another team I'm going to put on the list to watch for, and it's going to be a week-by-week basis, is Missouri State. In my opinion, they look so good. Now, my heart says, I want Missouri State, Incarnate Word, and Frisco. But that's not going to happen. So
I don't think you're wrong, but Missouri State has some very identifiable problems.
Oh yeah, for sure. But, they're still a fantastic team. They're deserving of the top 10 ranking.
It's a good thing Shelley can run because he has no protection.
We sacked him 5 times in Conway. Arkansas sacked him 8 times last night.
Yeah, he's given up. I think they've given up 17 sacks this year. You can't keep doing that because you're going to injure your quarterback at some point. And without Shelley, they're a completely different team.
I do think they are good. I think they're a good team, but I don't think they're a top 5 team without Jason Shelley.
I'll be interested to watch. They're playing the Jackrabbits this week. I think that game is in Springfield. That will be an interesting one to see, really, because you're looking at 2 or 3, depending on which player you're looking at, versus 5. I think that's going to be a measure of just how good Missouri State is, and even a measure of how good South Dakota State is as well.
That's got huge Valley implications.
Valley implications.
So.
Yep.
That'll be fun. See, we don't just – go ahead.
Well, I noticed today Missouri State also avoids North Dakota State this year.
Yeah, they do.
So
this is kind of their big one.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, we don't just talk WACSUN football because all the FCS is important. Yeah, we repping Jackrabbit Illustrated. The Rev is, and so that's fun to talk some. It's like the Little Man podcast. That's what we should call it. It's like we're not the Big Boy podcast. It's the Little Man podcast. We're
the B team.
The B team. No, we can't take that name.
I think we're like the C team.
C team. We're the Garage Time.
We're the B team JV. Anyway. Well, let's move right on along because we're over 30 minutes already. So it's time for me and Brandon to maybe get some geographic redemption without using geography because then we wouldn't. So, Rev, take it away. Tell me what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to call it what you called it because I don't want Chris Hammond to come after me at 3 a.m. either. But we're going to just play a fun game with Mascot. So basically, I'm going to name the school. You name the mascot, and then an extra point if you can actually name the mascot. Like, for example, we'll use an example. We're going to use the current best team in FCS, the Arizona Wildcats. Oh, I just said a name. Sorry, that was the slam at North Dakota State. No, let's use for example. So if I say Stephen F. Austin, you would say
Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks, and then for a bonus point, if you could actually name what that Lumberjack's actual name is.
He doesn't have a name.
He doesn't. He's just the Lumberjack. Just his name. It's just like for Eastern Kentucky, I believe he's just the Colonel.
Yeah.
And for Austin P, he's just the governor. But these
He
five
should be
schools,
Colonel Sanders, but
I should. But for these 5 schools, I did some research. I did use the internet, the Wikipedia. So if it's wrong, go edit your damn page. Okay.
So you're telling me it's got to be pretty hard because you had to look them up.
I had to look up a couple of them. So
It's probably gonna be like
no, not the actual team mascot, but the actual individual mascot name. I had to go double check.
I was gonna
team
say
mascots.
all right. Are there any that aren't Northeast Conference or?
Yes, none of these are Northeast Conference actually.
Are they all Pioneer League?
None of these are Pioneer League.
Okay, I might do okay.
And so you're going to get a point, like I said, a point for the team mascot and then a point for the individual mascot's name. Okay, you ready?
I'm nervous.
First one, North Dakota State University.
Bison and Corso.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so here's the thing: the Wikipedia page is Thunder for their
Corso's the live mascot.
Yeah, Corso's live mascot. But Brandon, I'm going to give you that anyway because
that was quick and good.
Yeah. So Brandon's at 2. Will, you're at 1.
If I get all the regular mascot names, I'll count it as a win.
I mean, the fact is, I think I'm actually have to keep score this time because last time you guys were atrocious on this one. Okay, Sam Houston.
Bearcats. Sammy.
Okay. There you go. All right, so we tied.
Didn't know the name for that one.
Yeah, we tied it up. We are tied at 3. Look at this. Jimmy Williams is going to still say you guys are wusses for not doing this. All right, Western Carolina University.
The Catamounts.
Yeah.
And I don't know what.
I'm gonna take a guess. Mountie.
No, his name is Pause.
Brandon, can you tell me what town Western Carolina is in?
Cullowhee.
Yep.
Cullowhee. All right. Abilene Christian University.
Wildcats.
Wildcats.
Willie the Wildcat.
There it is. Will got it. So right now,
Will's leading.
Will has a 1-point lead over Brandon as we get to the final question.
Okay.
Like my TV voice. The final. Presbyterian College.
Blue Hose.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
He got me with the time.
Okay, so do any of you know the mascot name?
I don't know.
It is Scotty the Scotsman.
Scotty the Scotsman. I never would have known that.
That is his real name, which is pretty interesting, I think. So now,
well, it deals with the Presbyterian Church, being formed in Scotland.
That is exactly correct. Look at you.
Nice.
I go to a Presbyterian church, so I should know my church history.
Was that a tie?
That is technically a tie, so I got to pull up a tiebreaker real quick because I didn't plan ahead for this.
I am very surprised at the ones you chose. I really thought you were going to choose like I said, NEC schools, Pioneer schools, something that like I would just not know.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's just let's see. Okay, we'll use this one. South Dakota State University.
Jackrabbits.
There you go. Okay, we'll beat you to it. So I'm going to give him the
But
point.
can you name the Jackrabbit?
Can you name the actual name?
I can't. Can you, Brandon?
No.
Actually, Will, you did. His name is
Jack the Rabbit.
Jack Rabbit.
Jack the Rabbit.
Per Wikipedia,
awesome.
which you won't be able to see on my screen. I'm trying to get up there, but it does say Jack Rabbit. So again, B team, if you guys are listening and you think that's wrong, we'll edit your damn page. Okay, go to Wikipedia and fix your page. So we're gonna give Will the W this week, making up for his atrocious.
Hey, at least I won last week.
Both of us did better this week.
Yeah, I guess. Well, no, I don't. You know who won last week?
Me.
Nobody won.
Nobody won.
Nobody.
I was 2 for 5.
You know who lost last week? The Arkansas and Alabama education systems with your horrible geography showing. That's who. Nobody won last week. Nobody won. You know actually who won? GeoGuessr, because it got a couple new members.
He got a new subscription from me.
Will.
Oh gosh. Well, that was fun. We've been saying we were going to do mascots for a while, but I enjoyed that much more than last week.
Yeah, I think next week we probably won't. I don't know. We do have potentially a special guest next week who might join us for the entirety of the podcast. So don't know if we'll do it or not. So we're not going to say anything else. But
Sure.
Yep, I got to align times with him though on it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead. My mic's gonna fall. Let's go ahead and talk some Week 4 matchups because we have some good ones, some very good ones this week. UCA making the short trip up to Cape Girardeau for SEMO. Jacksonville State playing at Nichols. Wofford at Kennesaw State. Tarleton at North Alabama. Warner, man, that is a huge opponent for SFA. And then Western New Mexico at Abilene Christian, another acronym that I had to make sure I knew on the fly. Utah Tech and Southern Utah. Man, the Utah intrastate games are pretty cool. They have a ton of them.
Yeah,
that's awesome. The state of Utah is actually pretty good at football right now.
Yeah.
And then the game of the week, we'll talk about it. Eastern Kentucky and Austin Peay. Some early season, postseason implications. So let's just jump right in. We'll go straight down the line. UCA and SEMO. I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on it. SEMO, I didn't think was going to be very good, but then when they knocked off Southern Illinois, I thought that Southern Illinois was just not good, but then they went up and beat Northwestern.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think. I don't think SEMO is bad. So if UCA plays the way we did against Idaho State, I think we'll be fine. We gave McIlvain a ton of high percentage throws. That's what I really liked. Got the ball out of his hand quick, and then later in the game, that opened up a lot more for him. And so ran the ball well. Darius Hill had 3 touchdowns. Hopefully, we can win the line of scrimmage against SEMO. I think if we win the line of scrimmage, we can win ball games, which I know that's the recipe for anybody to win a game. But that's my thought. Do either of you have anything?
What's interesting to me is one, the fact that they did beat the Socklookies, if you will, but they also completely boat raced Nichols State yesterday. Like, I don't know if y'all saw that score. It was 42-16, just an obliteration there in Cape Girardeau. I don't know if they've just completely turned around or what's going on, but DeLauren, their quarterback, had a great game. Went for 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick against Nichols. They has set 70 yards on the ground and a touchdown. They look like a more complete team, not the bottom of the barrel in the OVC as they used to be.
Yep.
So
which they're 2 years removed from being in the playoffs.
Was it 2? Is it 2? I thought it was longer.
It might have been 3. It was 2019. It was
I think it's it's been longer than that. I think it's been 2018.
18.
Yeah.
It was 19. It was 19 because
they made playoffs 2 years in a row.
We hosted Illinois State the week after they beat SEMO because we were the 8 seed in 2019.
But, so at home, I'm gonna pick SEMO over UCA. They seem to be. I think UCA is getting to the point where they need to play. I just think SEMO has a little bit more of the momentum going in with their past 2 performances, especially with the win and getting the wheel that they played for with
the wheel.
The wheel. So getting the wheel from the Socklookies and I got to give them the edge this week.
Yeah, SEMO, and I hate SEMO. I hate talking good about SEMO so much, but they are playing their best ball right now, and I just think it's going to get better. And let me just go ahead and say this for UT Martin fans that somehow listen to our podcast: y'all best be ready. SEMO is back from those. They are playing like they did with those 2 playoff teams. So UT Martin fans, be ready. So with it being at home, like Rev said, I'm actually picking SEMO to beat UCA.
They're definitely playing some good football. They're throwing the ball all around the yard.
Yes,
for sure. So that's going to be probably a point of emphasis for UCA is to control the line of scrimmage on offense, but then on defense, don't give up the big ball. So, which is kind of what we did against Idaho State. We bent, didn't break. They played on our side of the field for the better half of the first quarter, but we just never really gave up the big play. So, moving on down the line, Jacksonville State, Nichols. I don't have a problem just saying Jacksonville State probably wins this big. I don't think Nichols is what they were. I think they probably wouldn't have been very good last year without Lindsey Scott, honestly, looking back. I didn't think he was that important coming into this year for the Nichols team last year, but turns out I think he was.
Yeah, like we joked, well, not joke, but we said that like Cam Ward was the entirety of the UIW offense, but no joke, Lindsey Scott was the entirety of the Nichols State offense last year. So, yeah, I think this one gets ugly quick. Jacksonville State rebounds. Hopefully, Rich Rod, goes back to what's working. I think it's ugly quick. I mean, it is in Thibodeau. Strange things happen in Thibodeau, but not this week.
Strange things do happen in Thibodeau. Like you have to get dressed in a FEMA tent.
Yeah. Well, you do right now at Sam Houston also because they're completely rebuilding stuff. So they were in I don't know if you saw, but A&M Commerce was in a tent.
It's nuts. I don't even think you should be able to host a game if you're going to put your visiting team in a tent. We our fans went out too, and so we showered in like portable showers. I had to walk out like half naked in front of the Nichols fans to take a shower. It was bad. Anyway, go ahead, Brandon.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say we are a run first offense. And Nichols cannot stop the rushing. It's going to get very ugly very quickly, like you said. Yeah. I think JSU will have a bounce back week against a horrible FCS team this year. And yeah, I'm picking the Gamecocks big.
Yeah. One more thing on the 10 thing, because I'm going to take a dig at Sam, even though they have a bye this week. You guys, I know you're renovating Bowers for your move. You could have started with the stands first because nobody's going to fill them. Instead of doing the locker rooms, you could have done that in the offseason.
You're going to have people in the locker rooms.
Yeah, you're going to have people in the locker rooms. You're not guaranteed to have people in the stands, especially with how bad your offense has been. But I digress. Let's move on to the next game.
Yeah. Next game on the list, Wofford and Kennesaw State. Two teams that like to do similar things, but haven't been able to this year, winless between the two. Which I didn't expect. Oh, how Wofford has fallen from grace. They were so good just not too long ago. So this one is, I don't think Kennesaw will lose, and I really don't think it'll be that close. But if Wofford did anything, creative with their offense, I think we might see a little bit more competitive of a game, but I'm going to roll with Kennesaw pretty handily.
Yeah, Wofford just cannot figure it out on offense, whereas Kennesaw actually has some of their stuff figured out on offense. So I think because of that, Kennesaw will be more successful and absolutely walk all over Wofford.
So Wofford has scored one touchdown. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I am picking KSU big.
Yeah, I mean, I know the triple option teams have been impacted this year with the new rule about blocking no cut blocks outside the tackle box. We've seen where it's impacted some teams, although at the same time you could also adapt and use your fullback more as a way to draw the defenders in and then go outside. But I digress. That's a whole discussion for Twitter that happened yesterday. But no, I think Kennesaw State will win. I don't think it's going to be a big blowout like a 42-0 or something like that. Just because there won't be time for it, but I would say probably like a 24-3 game. I don't even know if Wofford scores a touchdown against them, to be honest with you. So
I don't think Wofford scores at all.
Yeah, they're just not. There's just sorry, SoCon or Joe from Wofford who follows me on Twitter. Sorry, you guys are just not there this year.
Wofford is averaging 42 rushing attempts and about 20 pass attempts, which is honestly more than I was expecting. But
yeah,
I don't think that one's going to be very close. Tarleton and North Alabama. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this one, because does North Alabama have a chance to get back in the saddle and win a football game?
No.
Okay.
That's it. No, not against Tarleton. I don't think Tarleton. They didn't play well against TCU. They put up 17 points against TCU, which is, I guess, commendable. Bo Allen's look good for them. Granted, they played Eastern New Mexico, and but if I look at their team end to end, I think they're a better team than North Alabama at the moment. I know the game's in Florence, but I think Tarleton will take this one probably by a touchdown, maybe 10 points.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing Tarleton playing anybody. Like they played Mississippi Valley State and Eastern New Mexico. Not necessarily good battle testing games, whereas UNA has at least played Indiana State and Chattanooga.
They also played Virginia Wise, so they've also
yeah, and so to me, UNA is more battle tested. The question is the home crowd going to play an advantage in this game? Because if I'm not mistaken, these teams met quite often in the D2 playoffs. So, they have history. I honestly don't know who to pick right now.
I don't either.
I'm going to go home team. UNA, please do not let me down. I'm picking the Lions by 3.
And I don't think we have any Tarleton Texans that listen to the podcast, so
they don't have internet in Stephenville.
So I'm gonna say North Alabama, but I have a history, even dating back to last year, of picking North Alabama until they would win a game, and so I'm rolling with them again. They're gonna win. I do think their home field has something to say for it. As long as people come out, which it's getting to that time of year, we're going to get some family days. And so maybe they'll get a family day there in Florence and have a big crowd, and it'll play a factor. So I'm going to roll with the Lions in this one. Random, but do you guys like their new logo?
No,
I don't either.
See, I do. I think it's better than the old one.
No. The old one was much better. If you took the old one and put the color scheme of the new logo on that, now that would have been tough.
Yeah.
Okay. I enjoyed it, but that's just me. Warner Brothers Entertainment and SFA.
I don't think we have anything to say about this one. I'm picking Lumberjacks big.
No, yeah. I agree. I think Warner probably wins by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, to keep it, because it would be. It would fit the season if it happened. But no, SFA had a bye this past week. Bye went for 250 yards on him. But anyway, I digress. They had a bye. I think that helped them, sort of right their ship. It gave an idea. The thing with SFA, their struggles, they have a new defensive coordinator, new defensive coaches. It's a new system. On another WACSUN-esque podcast, they had a great interview with Coach Carthel about it, and he talked about that they're having their defense learn a completely new system from what they had last year, because all those coaches went to Louisiana Tech. And then I think this is a good game to take what they worked on during the bye week and get it executed on the field and get ready for Sam Houston. I'm actually not going to this game because I was like, with everything that's happening in October, I wanted to take another week of quiet. So I'm not going to go watch us beat up Warner Brothers Studios, but hopefully I don't get a copyright infringement there either. But no, I think SFA will win big. It's going to be one of those where it's like 59-0 sort of games. Just where players who will play out, and it'll be the sort of thing that, I guess, to get your mojo back before you go into the last dance that we have against Sam Houston on October 1st.
Yeah, I don't see SFA struggling very much here. I think you're probably spending your time wisely not going.
Yeah.
How far is the drive for you?
About 3 hours.
Okay.
It depends on. I have to go through Houston. It depends on Houston traffic. You never know what you're going to get there. So once you get to the Bush Airport, it's legit 2 hours up 59. So it depends on how long it takes me to get to the north side of town.
Cool. Western New Mexico making the trip to Abilene, take on Abilene Christian. I was kind of looking because I guess Eastern New Mexico is the New Mexico school that's decent. Western's not. They went 1-10 last year, and they're in the Lone Star Conference, and they got beat by Commerce 58-0. So not gonna pick any D2 upsets today. Abilene gets it done pretty handily, I'm gonna say. They didn't look terrible. Their touchdowns against Missouri were garbage time touchdowns, garage time touchdowns.
Garage time. Copyright B team. Garage time.
Yeah.
No, like I said, Abilene Christian, the Toyota Corolla of the WAC, they're going to just go through that game. It's a dependable win that they're going to get. And then they'll be ready for what's forthcoming. I don't think there's anything to dwell on here. I think Maverick McElvore will have himself a day against Western New Mexico.
Yeah, Abilene big. There's no need to explain. Abilene big.
Willie the Wildcat going to get to do some fun celebrations on Saturday, I guess. Utah Tech, Southern Utah, a conference game.
A rivalry game.
Very much a rivalry game and a conference game. So this one is at Southern Utah. Brandon, where's it at?
Cedartown. Or Cedar City.
Cedar City.
Cedartown is in Georgia. Cedar City.
Yeah, Cedar City. Oh, God. Man, I really thought that was just going to transition very smoothly. Anyway.
That's awkward.
This is gonna be interesting. And a couple weeks ago I would have said, man, I think Utah Tech gets it done, but Southern Utah has showed their ability to at least win football games, and that's a hard thing to do at the Division I level, is win a football game, no matter who you're playing. And so I'm gonna roll with Southern Utah. I think they're very much improved. They've got it headed in the right direction, and I think they win the rivalry game because it's a very winnable game.
Yeah. I think the return game when it's in, where Utah Tech is, Brandon?
St. George.
There you go. Yep. Well, I think when they have the return game in St. George, I think I would lean more towards Utah Tech winning. This is in Cedar City. The fact that SUU's coming off the win last week against the Missouri Valley team, granted it's Western Illinois still a team. I think that gives them the edge. I mean, Utah Tech has played decently against their opponents. I mean, come on, they went to Weber, who shellacked the Utah State Aggies, and they hung in with them. 44-14 is not a bad score whenever you're still a transitioning team up. So I just not this week. I think Coach Fitzgerald, who follows me on Twitter, so shout out Coach, think he gets a win first round of that rivalry game, but they do have two this year, two matches. So I'll be interested to see how this one goes, so we can, for whenever we predict the return game.
Yeah, I'm thinking Southern Utah is headed in the right direction. I think they're getting back to where they were when they won the Big Sky a couple years ago. I think with this being in Cedar City, the home field advantage is going to play a big part in this matchup. Now we'll touch on the other matchup in St. George later in the season. But because of the home field advantage for Southern Utah, I think Southern Utah gets it done.
It was weird for me to hear that Southern Utah was going to have a home field advantage, but then I had to think about the fact that they're playing another Utah school. Like, I don't know that Southern Utah's got this great environment, but I guess if they're playing a rival, it will be pretty good.
Those towns are only 30 minutes apart from each other. Maybe that. I think it'll be a packed house at Eccles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It'll be good for a game like that. Now, if they were playing, somebody else, it might not be. But I'm going to roll with Southern Utah. So moving into the game of the week. And let's just recap last week's game of the week, which was North Alabama and Chattanooga. Gentlemen, who did you pick? Just to remind everybody.
Chattanooga.
I also picked Chattanooga.
Yep.
So I finally got a game, but I'd made up no ground. So and I have my pick for this one, and I'm pretty confident in it. So game of the week, Eastern Kentucky, Austin P. What are your? I just need your initial thoughts.
So Brandon, does that put us at 4-0 or 3? I'm trying to count how many games we've done. I just know we're undefeated, but I just want to run the numbers.
SFA.
Yeah, SFA.
Because I picked Jack State in that one.
Yeah,
UCA, Missouri State.
I picked UCA.
Yep.
Week 2. Y'all are 4-0.
4-0.
I'm 1.
No. I have one loss.
Oh yeah, you do have one.
He has one loss too.
Oh yeah, I do. Do I? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, y'all are both 3-1. Bowling Green and EKU is the other one.
I picked EKU.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're 3-1. We're both 3-1.
You picked UCA, I think.
He picked UCA. I picked Missouri State, so I'm 4-0.
Oh, okay.
I said my money.
Yeah,
was
but
on,
you
I said
picked.
I said my. I did pick SFA. You're right. So
Yeah.
I am 3-1. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I tried to forget about that game. Okay, we just want to get the stats right for everybody who's keeping track at home to see this awesome shirt Will's gonna have to wear in Frisco. So yeah, Brandon are 3-1, Will's 1-3, but you know.
It is what it is. It's a
Mhm.
long season. There's a reason there are 12 games, 13 weeks.
Yeah, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
It's true. So going back, Eastern Kentucky, Austin P, a lot of star power in this game. Both quarterbacks have done very well this year. Mr. DeLillo has thrown for almost 900 yards already, completing 2/3 of his passes. Parker McKinney just eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark. He is completing also 2/3 of his passes. Dakota Allen, star for Eastern Kentucky, tight end, converted from quarterback. And then Dre McCray, the standout receiver for Austin P. There's a lot of good talent in this game. And this has very much postseason implications early in the year. And if you were picking the ASUN automatic qualifier right now, this would probably be your game, just on what we've seen so far. I do think Austin P has question marks just because of the strength of schedule. I think Eastern Kentucky has definitely played the tougher schedule and has not had any bad losses. They only have one loss, and that was to Eastern Michigan, and that game was close. So we'll do the picks at the end, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, you really touched on a lot of these. If we look at just their body of work this year, you know, Austin P. I almost said App State again. Austin P. Looked great against Western Kentucky, right? They hung in there quite a bit. DeLillo looked, you know, and Dre McCray both had days that they look great. But then they played Presbyterian, who is, I mean,
God awful.
Yeah,
Bottom five, probably the worst FCS team.
The best part about Presbyterian is Scotty the Scotsman as a mascot. And then they played Mississippi Valley State, who, again, shout out to the fight in Okra, got beat by a D2 school, right? Like, they're not playing the toughest schedule, and I wonder if that's sort of inflating this a little bit. When you look at Eastern Kentucky, they played really well against Eastern Michigan, almost pulled that scalp. They did pull the scalp against Bowling Green, and then they, you know, turn around and look. And this past week looked great too. In my mind, this, like you said, this is the ASUN qualifier at this point, unless somebody like UCA comes in and plays spoiler to some folks. If UCA gets their stuff together, I think whoever wins this game, it's their conference to win for the rest of the year. So I like Parker McKinney. I think Parker McKinney, if he's not on all the watch lists, he needs to be on all the watch lists. He's a great quarterback. He's just got it all, and he's also got the intangibles. Very smart. When you see the throws he makes, he rarely makes bad throws. So yeah, we'll wait for predictions till the end, but I think this is just going to be an awesome one to watch. I plan on blocking the time off on my calendar Saturday and sitting down and watching it.
Next. Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to touch on, because Rev kind of touched on everything that I wanted to touch on, but I will say, when you look at like the player stats side by side on ESPN for the preview of this game, Austin P, the stats for DeLillo, Jackson, and McCray all are higher than EKU. The EKU players, McKinney, Sloan, and Allen. But again, that's probably due to who Austin P has played. But it is also very hard for a familiar foe to come into Clarksville and play. Oh, what is the nickname of their stadium?
Fort. It's
the Fort. It's very hard for them to come in, for a familiar foe to come into the fort and win. Ask me how I know.
See, UCA is undefeated in Clarksville, so I wouldn't know.
JSU used to be until a couple seasons ago.
I will say looks may be deceiving when you look at those stats too, because Eastern Kentucky's leading receiver is a tight end. So I think they're spreading it out more, maybe spreading the wealth a little more. I think Dre McRae is their go-to guy, and while Dakota Allen may be their go-to guy, he's still a tight end. He's not, going down the field. They're not throwing, bombs to him every other play. So, well, let's jump into picks because that's what we're doing this for. I'll start it off, and I think Eastern Kentucky can roll into Clarksville and get the win. I think they're the better team. I think they're more proven. I think they're better tested, and I do think they're a little bit older too, just across the board. So I'm gonna roll with the Colonels. Whoever wants to go, we can. Rev, we just keep it with you. Oh, you got the shirt on, so yeah. Where'd you get that, or did somebody send that to you?
I actually bought this one, but just shameless plug. If you want me to rep your school on this podcast, you can send me swag, and I will gladly wear it, except for Sam Houston, because they're not really part of the WAC. And actually, I actually do have a Sam shirt. I have a bet on Balpine Woods involving that shirt, but I digress. For those of you who are just listening to this on the audio portion, I am wearing an Eastern Kentucky shirt this week because I think Eastern Kentucky is going to get this win. I think they're the more mature team. I think they're better put together, and I think they've had the better, been better battle tested this year. It is hard to go into Clarksville and win, but I think if there's a team who can do it, it's going to be Eastern Kentucky. Don't think it's going to be a blowout game by any means. I think it's going to be close. I think you're looking at a 1 score or less score, but this is going to be a great one to watch. I recommend that you find time and sit down and watch this because it's going to be worth the watch.
This is, I believe, after this week, both teams should be in the top 25, I believe. So this should be a top 25 matchup. So it's going to be a good game. Okay, so the fort's capacity is 10,000. I'm going to make a bold prediction along with my pick. I think Austin Peay is going to exceed and get 12,000 fans in this stadium this week.
No, not a chance.
I could see that. I could see that.
And because
we're gonna make a taco bet.
A taco bet.
Is that in the drop downs? We can just drop that in.
No, I don't have the right brand up, but we could.
But well, I mean, take a look at the stadium. There's plenty of areas for standing room to get to 12,000.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've played there at a home opener, and which is probably going to be your biggest crowd, unless maybe it's family day. And there were like 6,000 people there.
I don't think so for this one. I
get
don't.
That. Yeah, Austin Peay has fully bought into football. Like they are committed.
They had bought in when we were there because they had been to the playoffs a couple years in a row. Like it was. I don't see it happening.
Well, let's pull it on. Let's pull up the schedule real quick. Let's take a look if there is. Oh, you know what? It is homecoming as well as Alumni and Greek Day. So Brandon may be onto something then.
This will be a 12,000. Probably a 12,000. Maybe pushing 13,000, depending on how many people show up. But anyways, because of that, I am actually picking the Govs to upset Eastern Kentucky.
Wow. This means we could break the stalemate at the top with our standings.
Austin Peay plays much better when that entire stadium is hype and getting behind that football team.
I'm trying to find
because they did the same thing to JSU in 19, and we were a heavy favorite.
Let's see here. I'm trying to find like the top crowd at Forterra Stadium ever, but I don't see it listed anywhere.
Here, I bet you I can find it real quick. Hang on.
I was on Wikipedia. I even went to their page. Dang, maybe I can't find it. But if you see it, let me know. I don't know. I just think Eastern Kentucky, like Rev said.
The largest crowd at Forterra Stadium in stadium history was 12,201 as the Governors down Tennessee State.
Oh, they were playing Tennessee State.
Mm-hmm.
And who? When was that?
I don't know. This is just on the Forterra site on letsgop.com.
Okay. Well, if it
What
was
was that number?
12,000.
12,201.
Okay, so it was after 17.
Yeah,
Because before that, the record was like a little over 8,000.
Okay, so I don't think they touched it then because they were playing Tennessee State. No, I don't think they touched it.
This is going to be a new conference rivalry, I think.
Yeah.
In the ASUN, honestly,
It's going to replace Austin Peay and the Austin Peay Murray State rivalry.
Yeah, I think this is going to be your new conference rival. I think this is going to be your annual, your sort of annual like teams at the top sort of thing. So I don't think Brandon's that far off. They may not get 12,000. They're going to get more than 10. There.
Yeah, because JS
can this be like I get 2 points if I'm right since I'm going against you guys?
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
If there is less than 10,000 people at this game, we'll give you 2 points in the standings.
All right, sounds good to me. I'll take that bet. Virtual handshake.
Yeah, but hopefully this doesn't turn out like your shame on picking this week or your geography knowledge. So.
Oh man. Well, hey, this was a fun one. I had a much better time this week than last week.
Y'all do realize with there being 6 teams in the conference, there's like 3 big main rivalries in this conference.
Yeah.
So you have EKU Austin Peay.
Yep.
You have JSU Kennesaw State. And sorry, Will, but y'all have y'all's D2 rivalry back with UNA.
Yeah, the only thing about the UNA rivalry is like I know of it, but I don't think the modern day UCA fan has much of a clue about UNA anymore.
Yeah, because you grew up as a UCA fan. I don't know how many people who go to UCA grew up as a UCA fan. You know,
right?
A lot of them probably called the Hogs and then went to UCA.
That's the same thing with me as Jacksonville State. My parents went to Jack State. I grew up a Jack State fan.
Right, but I don't think a lot of people from UCA care or know who North Alabama is, unfortunately. But I think it's a great rivalry, and maybe it'll blossom. But
I honestly, if we talk about rivalries that I hope to get, I hope UCA and SFA becomes an annual non-conference. Well, I guess conference as long as the WACSUN keeps going, but an annual game.
You guys just need to come on over.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that.
That's a story. That's a whole episode.
We could do that. Might be some good off-season content. Let's not get it.
What rivalries?
No, the future of the WACSUN and real. What's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Especially, I don't know if you guys watched the WAC media days with the commissioner came out and was talking about basketball. I'm like, you're at a football media day, guy. Yeah. Just let Gumbart run the WACSUN. Let him be the Patty.
Just
whatever.
Combine the two. Combine the two.
Well, you don't want it for basketball, but for football, absolutely.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For football only, combine the two.
Yeah, I just think that's what they should do. Just make it a permanent conference. And
the American South Football Conference. Because all of the teams are in the American South.
Except for Utah, the Utah schools.
That's still in the southern portion of the United States. If you draw a line across the middle of the United States, Utah is in the South.
Oh, okay.
Well, hey, this was a fun one. I had a good time. And we'll be back at you next week for another episode. But before we go, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the FCS Fans Nation Network. So much good content coming out. We'll drop this podcast tonight. There'll probably be 3 others that'll drop. The Big Boy podcast, I think, comes out soon. Jackrabbit Illustrated just did the B team.
A-team.
Oh, was that the A-team that was live?
A-team's on Sundays, B team's on Wednesdays.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, make sure.
They're the last one to post.
They tend to run. No, it's them. Or I don't know. Fight on Montana sometimes runs late in the week too, but yeah, they tend to be the last one to go. They go live Wednesdays usually. It's usually 8 o'clock.
I know we record Tuesday and release after.
Yeah.
Well, needless to say, there's a ton of good content coming out, and the Big Boy podcast should come out in the morning. So make sure you watch that.
Morning or Tuesday.
Yeah, either one. But so much good stuff coming out. So make sure you watch all of those as well. We appreciate you tuning in. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or Anchor, whatever it may be, I would definitely encourage you to maybe give YouTube a try. There's a lot of good shenanigans just from seeing our ugly faces. I think it's more fun that way. So if you're feeling that, do it. Do you guys have any parting words before we head out?
I will say the Jackrabbit Boys, both their sets, they're on Anchor and Spotify as well. So you can, if you search FCS podcasts, you'll be able to find them. Also, if you haven't gotten your Natty tickets, you're probably out of luck until one of the fan bases teams backs out, because they are basically sold out. The pre-sales decimated all the tickets, which is a good thing. We will be sitting in the end zone in Rainbow Row. Actually, we got 2 rows of Rainbow Row, so you can come find us, come hang out. We'll drop the details closer to time, obviously, but I'm excited to see the fact that tickets sold out that quick. It's going to be a one heck of an environment, especially with the 4 fan bases who bought the tickets, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So if 2 of those 4 teams make it, it's going to be one hell of an environment. So we're definitely looking forward to it.
Plus all of your just average FCS fans there with them. That's going to be great.
It'll be a fun time for sure. I'm excited for it. So, well, boys, it was fun. I hope you guys have a great week 4. I hope everybody listening has a great week 4, and we'll see you back next Sunday night for a recap and preview week 5. Good night, everybody.